Milton, this is a fantastic opportunity. This is a long-term test video on a 1995-1996 Subaru Impreza WRX. This client has owned this car since brand new, been coming to us for a long time, had our exhaust system on for probably well over 10 years. And what I want to grab this opportunity to show you some recent upgrades from a maintenance point of view, some of the weaknesses of this particular car and some of the things to look through it, because obviously this particular model car now is becoming third, fourth, fifth owner type vehicles around the world. In the UK, in areas in the northern US where there's lots of snow and salt on the roads, probably car no longer exists. But here in Australia, because we don't have snow and salt on the roads, rust is not a big issue with these models. Reliability of the Subaru is obviously paying huge dividends for people who are keeping this particular car. So what I want to show you is what we've done to this car, because compared to these days, there's lots of modifications that we don't do anymore, and I think a lot of things have changed in knowledge. Back in 1995, we didn't have the ability to tune the factory ECU with Ecutech. We were talking about plug-in chips with different ECU interfaces, standalone ECUs and stuff like that. So you can see it's got an MRT complete sports exhaust system. It's looking a bit tired, but still 100% reliable. Back in those days, white line, all their sway bars were painted blue. There's still an adjustable rear sway bar. A little while ago, he upgraded the rear sway bar links. The factory ones on this particular model are plastic and stretch and squash under load. So if you want to improve this particular model, just changing those links with the factory rear sway bar will actually improve the handling by stiffening up the rear sway bar. I'll come around this side because it's easier for my cameraman to see. This particular mount on this particular model was also known to break. So this one's been replaced with one of the very early R&D white line heavy duty sway bar mounts to stop the failure of the sway bar mount to the chassis. We'll get a shot later, but we've now recently fitted with new Tein coilovers, adjustable strut tops, adjustable platform height. The original shock absorbers are well past their use by date. Again, on this particular model, you'll notice, if we'll get my cameraman just take one step backwards, this rear suspension was the same up until 2007. 2008 went to a multi-link rear suspension, so you can replace these arms on the different models, whether it's STI or WRX, wagon or non-turbo, with an adjustable rear arm if you really want to improve the performance of the rear end of that car. We'll go forward. You'll notice this particular one, in those days we never used to, it was an option to put the center resonator. This one doesn't have it. Early model ones we did a flexible joint. Later models now we're doing a ball joint because it lasts even longer. And you can see by the way this guy looks after his car, there's very little scratches or marks onto the exhaust system. O2 sensor on this one, it didn't have two O2 sensors, so this one's got a high flow cap with still with a split collector, but doesn't have a rear O2 sensor. It's got one O2 sensor which is up behind the turbo. Similar lower cross member. Earlier on we replaced these rear joints with the anti-lift kit. You'll notice on this particular model it's a longitudinal mount, unlike the later model 2008 on, which just has a vertical mount where the bushes tear. This one still increases and changes the dynamic position of the rear pickup with a lower control arm to change the anti-dive, anti-lift settings on the front suspension, but also moves the arm out and gives that little bit more caster, so the car will obviously turn in and handle better. Front sway bar, using all the original mounts. This one's a non-adjustable bar. But I wanted to show you some of the other things. You can see on this particular model never came out with a plastic under tray. Still same front steering rack. Obviously he's replaced also the front links. This particular model had front links which were plastic like the rear, and by now if you've got this model and you haven't replaced them, I highly encourage you to, because the plastic ones with the rubber bushes in them just stretch and squash, and effectively the rubber has probably failed by now. So what we'll do is we'll go up top and have a look at some of the other modifications that we've done. So obviously with the business end of the model, you can see just how small the intercooler is on these early model Subarus, and this is deemed an aftermarket MRT high performance upgrade, because the inlet pipe obviously comes around the back of the inlet manifold before the later models went around under the inlet manifold and straight into the turbo. This one's got this horrible 90-degree bend for the 90-degree bend into the turbo. turbo intake. They've got these chimneys which directed air off the bonnet scoop down into the turbo to keep them cool. Obviously we've upgraded some time ago a silicon intake. This particular one has got the replacement alloy intake pipe. Now if you've got an early one of these, the plastic ones are prone to cracking and breaking off here at the blow-off valve, which is the factory blow-off valve, but also the plastic pipes also fail as well. I want to point out here, the radiator header tank is obviously one of our very early ones. This is a replacement aftermarket MRT one, because the ones that have got the metal ring around them on the early models over a period of time, and certainly by now, will have failed and they start to leak coolant. You'll see here with the carbon fibre Kevlar heat shield to keep heat away from the intake. In those days we used to do literally thousands of these unifilter ram pods, which obviously directed air and gave it a lot more efficient air intake to the turbo intake by the airflow meter sensor, because back then, again, we didn't have the ability to tune the factory ECU. This car runs a separate standalone boost controller. And you see right down here one of the very early MRT support brackets, which stops the master cylinder deflecting on the firewall, which adds to that spongy brake pedal. By fitting the brake support bracket, it reduces that sponginess and gives you better control over the brakes. Now, you'll also notice here in some of these still photos that I'm showing you, it's got the tops which are adjustable for the Tein coilovers. The little black box on the top is the servo motor, so from inside the car, the owner can adjust the shock rate, not the spring height, but the shock rate. And also, you'll notice that the overall engine bay is completely different to some of the newer model Subarus of its type. The thing to keep in mind with these cars from an age point of view that you need to look after is, as these engines tend to get on with time, coolant from an internal point of view with the engine to make sure they don't corrode, because an all alloy block, heads and the manifolds is important. Checking your timing belt covers and timing belts, tensioners, pulleys and things like that all have a big effect on the way the car is from a reliability point of view. 5-speed transmission back in 94 is really not a lot different to the current model. Same design, but obviously synchros have changed, ratios have changed, and have also the way that the transmission works. In some models you can get with an SDI with electronic center diff controls and things like that, but not with the 6-speed. So there you have it. This is obviously, you can see from the interior shots of this car how different it is to the current model, but still an incredibly reliable car, fantastic fun, and also good value these days if you can find one that's in such good condition as this. And I want to particularly say thanks to the owner of this car and allowing us to do a video on his pride and joy. So, but for now, I hope this video has helped you wherever you are in the world. For more information, make a comment here on our video, contact us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Pick up the phone, give us a call, try out our new online shop. It'll certainly help you to buy the parts that you want for your car. But for now, I'm Brett Middleton. Thanks for watching.